what is your commitment after 11 a.m.? Any other lecture?
Sir,
Yes,
at
sir.
11:15.
11:15. So we have more 15 minutes. Okay. So now it's a very complicated topic I just said, and all these headings they are itself a separate lecture. So my suggestion is just note the headlines or whatever bold letters are there on your notebook and don't lose continuity. So just kindly pay the attention. Now we have to hurry up and I have to run through the some of the slides also. Okay, so I just said that 1914 Robert Barani got the Nobel Prize for his work on physiology and pathology of the vestibular apparatus. It will be MCQ and will be asked in exam also. So what is the, can you see these slides, no?
Yes.
So you can note this definition: capacity to maintain posture and spatial orientation at rest and in movement. That is the definition of the equilibrium or balance. So as far as static balance is concerned, it's related to the center of gravity, and in standing and sitting position, and dynamic balance also center of gravity, but during movement. And what is the functional balance? Is the ability to perform daily movement tasks which uh, requires balancing. So that is about the functional balance. So now you just note this fighter jet movement affecting semicircular canal. So the suprasemicircular canal is responsible for the pitch movement. Is taking time to download, or what we say, going to the next slide. So the pitch movement, roll movement, and yaw movement. So these movements, they are specifically designed by the semicircular canal who are responsible for those movements. And those movements can be easily explained by the movement of the fighter jet. Yeah, hello. Am I audible, no?
Yes, sir.
Anjali?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. There is, I think, it's taking time to load the slides. I don't know what is the exact problem. I think that the problem is of network.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Gopal, this is the 13th slide itself. It's buffering. Can you see that buffering?
No, sir, we can see the slide directly.
Directly, but here we are seeing that buffering is that
Yes, sir,
getting,
we can see.
yeah, no? That next slide is not coming, so just wait. Let's see. Or we have to divide this lecture because I had more than 200 slides. So very difficult. I could have completed this if we could have got the 1 hour complete. But I think now it's very difficult to complete that lecture in the one go. Let's see how we can do. So you understood this basically three movements which the semicircular canal they are responsible for. So this AV means anterior semicircular canal or superior. P means posterior, and this yellow is one is the horizontal or lateral semicircular canal. Still is buffering. We are not able to go to the next slide.
Sir, we have downloaded the slide on our system. You can tell us
But
to move on so that
yeah,
we
what is
can
the next
continue
slide
with
then?
you.
I think next slide is also same about this, but it's only picture. What is the 15th slide?
The 15th slide is about dizziness and
Yeah,
terminology.
various terminologies, no? Take minute. I have to see also because if I can't say, I can't elaborate what is the importance, what is the difference between vertigo and various terms. So all of you can see on your desktop or mobile all the slides.
Yes, sir.
All of you can see.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Once it's uploaded, we can open it on.
So, just wait. You can hear me, no? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Am
sir,
I
you're
audible?
audible.
Sir.
Okay. Now come to that 15th slide.
Okay, sir.
So what is the definition of vertigo? It's the hallucination of movement, that is one feels as if a person is moving as compared to his surrounding or vice versa. Can you see this slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it's a sensation of self motion or false sensation of motion. So that complete description is already given on the slide. So what are the terms related to the vertigo? One is dizziness. So what is the difference between vertigo and dizziness? Is just a impaired spatial orientation without false sense of motion. So what is syncope? There is no loss of consciousness, just fainting. What is syncope? There is a fainting, but there is transient loss of consciousness. And what is unsteadiness? Patient is feeling unstable. It's just a disequilibrium. And especially in degenerative illness, there is a chronic continuous giddiness will be there. So all these terms, they are related to the vertigo. So you should know what is the differences between these. So now think that this balance is a reflex. So can you see the next slide, 17? 17.
Yes, sir.
Ah, so all of you go to the next slide. That is the 17th slide. So for as far as for that reflex, there is requirement of sense organ, then afferent pathway, then center, then efferent pathway, and effector organ. So what are the sense organ for the balance? These are the eyes, proprioception, and labyrinth. And as far as vertigo goes, we are supposed to concentrate on the labyrinth, or that is the vestibular system. Go to the 19th slide. So what are the sense organ of the vestibule? Is the semicircular canal, and vestibule itself, that is the utricle and saccule. This is known as otolith organ. 20th slide. So vestibular system consists of semicircular canal and otolith organ, that is saccule and utricle. As far as inner ear goes, it's divided into bony labyrinth and membranous labyrinth. 22nd slide. Membranous labyrinth consists of cochlear duct, then saccule, utricle, and then semicircular ducts. Then 23rd slide. This inner ear is supplied by the as far as blood supply goes, arterial supply by the anterior inferior cerebral artery, which gives the labyrinthine artery branch, and it supplies. As far as nerve supply goes, this is very, very important. It will be asked in your exam and MCQ also. The superior vestibular eighth nerve, that is vestibulocochlear nerve, as far as vestibular system goes, it's divided into superior vestibular nerve and inferior vestibular nerve. And superior supplies these parts and inferior to these parts. And in the ampullary end of the semicircular canal, this is a sense organ situated, which is cupula, and which contains this hair cells. These are known as kinocilium and stereocilia. So this is again very, very important as far as the exam goes. So there are three semicircular canals. One is lateral or horizontal semicircular canal, and the other ones are superior and posterior semicircular canal. They are in the mutual perpendicular planes, and they detect angular acceleration. 28th slide. The utriculopetal means the flow of the endolymph towards the utricle. You must be aware that this semicircular canal opens into the utricle. So if the endolymph flows towards the utricle, that is known as utriculopetal flow, is coordinated with the utriculoflugal flow in the opposite sides of the same canal. Okay, so that their balance is maintained and there should not be any giddiness feeling. So as far as this 29th slide, there is a special arrangement of the 6 semicircular canal, 3 in each, and that 3 coplanar pairing, that is right and left lateral, then left anterior is in plane with the right posterior, and left posterior is in the plane with right anterior. You are on the 29th slide, no? All of you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So as the head turns right semicircular canal will increase firing rate, and the left semicircular canal will decrease firing rate. So this is push-pull arrangement. 30th slide. So horizontal semicircular canal will detect the angular acceleration, that is horizontal head turning. Just turn your head left and right, that is horizontal head turning. So what is superior and posterior semicircular canal? They are just nodding the head back and front or side to side. It means try to touch your shoulders with your head. that is, this motion will be done by these canals. And utricle and saccule, they are linear head movement with the body. So, as all of you are aware that semicircular canals are filled by the endolymph. 31 slide. All this is important. The sense organ is crista and it's situated in the ambulatory end of the semicircular canal. 32nd slide. Movement of the cupula is by angular movement, that is utriculopetal or utriculofugal. So, in horizontal semicircular canal, all these are very, very important points. Utriculopetal flow stimulates, but in vertical semicircular canal, utriculofugal flow of the endolymph, there will be a depolarization or stimulation. This third slide. So, what is the sense organ in vestibule? That is macula, and which detects the linear acceleration. In utricle, which the macula is in the horizontal plane, and saccule is in the vertical plane. So can you see in the 34th slide, utricle, the macula is in the horizontal plane, and saccule, the macula is in the vertical plane. Now 35th slide. That I already said that the direction of movement is gravity dependent, and it's the linear acceleration or deceleration that is the function of this otolith organ. So there are two kinds of hair cells. As the hair cells are there in the organ of cortex, similarly here also there are kinocilium and stereocilia are there, and if the movement of the stereocilia towards the kinocilium, then it gets the depolarization or stimulation. Now 37 slide, can you see that picture of the hair cell? It contains the stereocilia and kinocilium. So movement of the stereocilia toward the kinocilium will give stimulation, and opposite will means there will be inhibition. So this is 38th slide. 30th slide is the summary of whatever we discussed till now of the vestibular system. 39th slide. Just go through that slide, it will be there with you. So again, it's very, very important as far as MCQ goes, even for the NEET PG examination. So now once we discuss that about the sense organ, what is the vestibular pathway? The vestibular nerve, then nuclei, then it goes to the ventroposterior nucleus, and then the vestibular cortex, then towards the eye, and then towards the cerebellum. So what we are going to discuss in next slide. 41 slide. All of you with me? 41? 41 slide?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir. So this ascending pathways, they consist of the vestibular nerve, nuclei, cerebellum, oculomotor complex, thalamus, and vestibular cortex. That 40th slide is again very, very important as far as exam is concerned. So what is in the center? In center there are various nuclei. 42nd slide, cerebellum and cortex, where there will be integration, and then order for the efferent pathway will be given. Then what are the descending pathways? Descending pathways goes gives the motor output and goes to the extraocular muscles through spinal cord and skeletal muscles, and which are responsible for the head position and position of the body in relation to the gravity. What is the effector organ? Again, that eye, then muscles of whole body, and then cortex itself. That also acts as a effector organ. So in short, this is the slide number 45. So this is, in short, this is the reflex arc. So afferent pathway, center, and then efferent pathway, and then effector organ. So again, that pictorial view in the 46th slide. 47th slide, this is a modular view. If you want to draw the line diagram, you can draw this way. And again, that whatever we discussed till now. So come to the 49th slide. The vestibular system is superior to others in terms of absoluteness of sensation and in relation to the gravity also. So it takes time to develop. That's why I said on that third or fourth slide that humans take about 1 year or more to walk or to with maintaining balance. So that is the reason. It's very complex system. So now suppose there is a question on vestibular system on physiology of balance or physiology of equilibrium. Then you are supposed to note or you are supposed to write this heading. Come to the 50th slide, 50. So there is a static equilibrium and dynamic equilibrium. Static means in relation with the gravity when the body stands still, and while moving, that is dynamic. So even there is a physiology if asked, then you have to mention about this brief anatomical structure, sensory organ and effector organ. Then in physiology also we are supposed to mention, come to the 52nd slide, cognitive reference, that is production of working memory which guides future behavior. Then voluntary, controlled by the cerebral cortex, and then emotional, that is fight or flight reaction. So that is generated by the limbic and hypothalamus system. So all this you are supposed to note or you are supposed to write in that physiology of balance if the question is there. Come to the 53rd slide. So to maintain equilibrium, eyes should be intact, and they are supposed to maintain field of vision when head is moving alone, or head and neck is moving, or head and neck and trunk is moving. Come to that 54th slide. Again, there is a integration in the center, which is a multisynaptic, and already we discussed about the afferent and efferent pathways, first order and second order neuron, which you are supposed to mention also in that physiology of equilibrium. Coming to 55th slide. So what is the role of cerebellum? It acts as an air correction mechanism, and as far as peripheral sense organ goes, spinal cord and fastigial nucleus, they coordinate postural reflexes. Come to 56. So vestibular system functions as it gives information about the gravity, rotation and acceleration, somatosensory and visual system, and then arousal, conscious awareness of the body. So at least you have to mention these names as far as physiology of vestibular system goes. And this is very, very important, 57th slide. So what is the principle of the vestibular system as far as physiology goes? There is a inhibitory cutoff, tonic firing rate, push-pull mechanism, vestibular ocular reflex, velocity storage system. So what is inhibitory cutoff? Inhibitory cutoff means there is depolarization of the ipsilateral hair cells during angular head movement. Means suppose right head is moving, there will be a depolarization on the right side, and simultaneously there is hyperpolarization of the contralateral hair cell. So hair cells are only able to hyperpolarize to what they were at rest, is equal to cut off whatever inhibitory influences from the movement going in the opposite direction. So this inhibitory cutoff is very, very important to maintain the balance. Then what is tonic firing rate? Even at the resting level, there is a baseline firing rate present without head movement, and this tonic firing is equally in both sides. If there is any mismatch, then there is going to be a giddiness. Then this push-pull mechanism. So one side, if there is ampulopetal flow, there is a excitation, but the other side there will be a ampulofugal flow, there is a inhibition. So that is known as push-pull concept or push-pull. That is what mentioned in the 61st slide, that these canals work in synergy. So lateral canal, kinocilia in the direction of the utricle, means there will be a endolymph flowing to the utricle, there will be excitation, and in vertebral canals, kinocilia away from the utricle. So utricular fugal flow away from the utricle, there will be a depolarization or stimulation. So that is the push-pull effect. In means the canals in both the ears, they work in synchrony. So something about the vestibular ocular reflex. This causes eyes to move in the opposite direction to head movement. Means suppose head is going to the right side, I will move to the left side. Speed of the eye movement is equal to that of the head movement and allows the object to remain in focus during head movement. So as far as viewer or vestibulo-ocular reflex, you are supposed to know this. So that's what I said, that if head is moving to the one side, there is an endolimb moving in the horizontal semicircular canal on that same side, and I will move to the opposite side. So that's what he mentioned in the 63rd slide. So again, it's a very complex mechanism as far as vestibulo-ocular reflex goes. 64 slide, horizontal and posterior and anterior, and this complex mechanism is innervated by the complex uh, nerve supply through the 8th nerve, then 4th, and then 6th and the 3rd cranial nerve in the 65th slide. Come to the 66th slide. What are the compensatory eye movements? Just now we discussed about the vestibular ocular reflex, then optokinetic reflex, smooth pursuit reflex, and then various neck reflexes. All these things you are supposed to mention in the physiology of balance. So now coming to 68th slide, what is the vestibular processing gain? Keeps eye still in space while head is moving. So ratio of eye movement to head movement should be 1. Then the balance will be mentioned. Then coming to the 69th slide, so preservation of neural firing in the vestibular nerve by the brainstem after stimulation of the semicircular canal to increase time constant, that is 10 seconds. 10 seconds time will be there. Come to the 70th slide, 70. So what is the role of cerebellum? It monitors vestibular performance, readjusts about the inputs and outputs, then modulates VOR, and then provides inhibitory drive of the vestibulo-ocular reflex, that is VOR. What is VSR? VSR is vestibular spinal reflex, 71 slide. It generates the compensatory body movement and to maintain head and postural stability, thereby preventing falls. So after knowing the basics about the physiology and anatomy, come to the 72nd slide. What is the etiopathogenesis of the vertigo? So all of you are with me. 72nd slide. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So just now we discussed that it's the sensory or sense organ, afferent pathway, center, efferent pathway, and motor. So defect in the sense organ, mismatch in the afferent and center, then the mismatch in the integration, then the descending pathway. All these defects can give vertigo. Why we are supposed to know vertigo? 73rd slide, because it's a significant health problem secondary only to low back pain. And National Institute of Health study estimates that 40% of the population over the age of 40 will experience a dizziness disorder during their lifetime. So coming to 74th slide, it's a most common problem around 54%, and it can be divided into peripheral, which is of 85%, and central. And in normal person also there can be dizziness, but it's most probably due to psychophysiologic cause, and they can be sensitive to motion, that is motion sickness during car travel, or due to anxiety, panic, depression, or phobia. Come to the 75th slide. Due to vertigo, there can be a risk of fall also. That's what given in the 75th slide. So what will be the problem if patient is having vertigo or vestibular loss? There will be a balance or gait deficit, head movement induced dizziness will be there, or visual blurring will be there, that is known as oscillopsia. Again, this will be asked in exam. Then oscillopsia means as if traveling a bumpy road or rumblers. You can say you must be aware of the speed breakers. Similarly, there will be a rumblers. So there will be racing difficulty, driving difficulty, and disability related to work or social leisure activities. Coming to 77 slide. So this vestibular disorder can be divided into peripheral and central disorder, and all the list I think I had given in that 71 slide. Just go through that. Again, there 78 slide. What are the peripheral vestibular disorder? So easy way to remember is just remember the 5 things: trauma, infection, inflammation, neoplasm, metabolic. So you can divide all these etiologies of any condition under this heading. So 70th slide, you can refer this slide I had given in detail. So 79th slide, that is a pictorial view. Peripheral disorders that can be divided into labyrinthine or vestibular nerve disorder, that is given in picture. Can you see 79th slide? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah. Now coming to the 80th slide. So what is PVP? PVP means is a age-related condition affecting vestibule. So like in eye, there is a presbyopia. In hear, as far as hearing loss goes, presbyacusis. Similarly, uh, giddiness related to the age related is presbyvestibulopathy. And on that right side of the column, you can see that usually this stress by vasculopathy is bilateral. It's not very severe as compared to that bilateral vestibulopathy due to other cause. You can see the various differences given in that. So PVP means pressed by vasculopathy, and its various differential diagnosis given on the left side. So come to the 81st slide. So there is what are the central vestibular disorder? Again, you can divide this: trauma, infection, inflammation, neoplasm, and metabolic. Under this heading, you can divide these central vestibular causes. So what are the non-vestibular peripheral causes which can give vertigo? 82nd slide. So neck, there can be whiplash injury or cervical spondylosis, which affects the blood supply and somatosensory information and gives vertiginous feeling. Or in legs and feet, there can be diabetic neuropathy due to alcohol, diabetes, vitamin deficiency, or eye muscle weakness. That also can give vertigo. Then endocrine, 83rd slide, endocrine, cardiovascular, hematological, and psychological. So all this. Then come to the 84th slide. And just I said that oscillopsia. Oscillopsia means as if you are traveling on a bumpy road or on the ramblers. So this again divided into unrelated to the head movements and related to the head movement. So usually this oscillopsia is due to because of the ototoxicity, most commonly seen due to ototoxicity. So you are supposed to ototoxicity means there are some drugs, especially aminoglycoside drugs, which affects the uh, this inner ear and to the vestibular system, especially that kanamycin, amikacin, and neomycin. This affects the cochlea, and the rest other aminoglycosides affect the vestibular system. So all this will be asked in your exam. This about the oscillopsia. Now, what is the difference between peripheral and central vertigo? Come to the 85th slide. So, as far as nystagmus goes, peripheral is usually the horizontal and torsional type. The direction is unidirectional, and visual fixation inhibits the nystagmus, is fatigable, and latency is there as far as peripheral vertigo goes. And then imbalance is usually mild to moderate in peripheral. Nausea and vomiting will be there. Hearing loss or tinnitus will be there in peripheral vertigo. And then neurological symptom will be absent in peripheral vertigo. So recovery usually begins within days. Head thrust sign will be there, positive, and the common causes is BPPV and Meniere's disease. BPPV itself is a separate lecture, and even Meniere's disease also separate lecture. And oscillopsia is usually mild in peripheral, but is severe in the central vertigo. Can you see on the 85th slide?
Yes, sir.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now once you know the etiology and then the basic thing about the vertigo, then how to proceed with such kind of patient. So it's a usually team approach, and in this team, ENT surgeon is the topmost. Means ENT surgeon has to see these patients, then only other, if there is any requirement, then ENT surgeons can take the advice from the other doctors. Can you see in the 86th slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So now, what is the emergency or red flag indicators? Means in vertigo also, suppose when you are supposed to do the emergency treatment, in which patients? So that is on the 87th slide. So if the vertigo is of sudden onset, or there is a progressive, if there is a severe tinnitus and severe headache, any neurological symptom, that is the emergency. Then if patient is having discharging ear along with vertigo, again emergency. Then severe psychiatric disorder, trauma, unexplained or new onset of symptom, or concern over all these are emergency signs or symptoms where patient needs emergency treatment. Then that already we discussed till now, that this head motion or change in head motion induces vestibular stimulation, gives vestibulo-ocular reflex, vestibular-spinal reflex, vestibulo-cholic reflex. 88th slide. Now 89th slide. So how to approach to this patient? Our goal is qualify and quantify the vestibular loss. Then order of convenience is standing. First examine the patient in standing, then sitting position, then with Frenzel glass, and then special examination. This should be our order of examination. Don't be hurry. And then save potentially disturbing test to the end as per the history. After the history, this test that is which disturbs the balance should be at the last. And this all the batteries of tests, these are static and dynamic vestibular balance, positional testing, ocular movement, gait, station, and cranial nerves, all you are supposed to examine. So come to the 90th slide, 90. So spend some time with the patient. History is very, very, very important, extremely important. So the key step is unhurried, detailed, all the history, then complete neurological, neuropathological history, degree of disability due to the problem, stability of the psychological system, balance function study. All this should be asked in the history. Come to the 91 slide. So patient 91, patient can say that there the symptoms of the patient will be can be like this, that flower coming up or things are revolving. There will be nausea, vomiting or pallor, black hole in front on or looking down, cold sweating, shivering, spinning, whirling. All these things patient can complain. Come to the 92nd slide. Excessive salivation, flatulence, diarrhea, fatigue, exhaustion, apathy, anxiety, depression. All these can be the symptoms of the vertigo patient. Come to the 93rd slide. So how to elaborate or take the history of this symptom? So what we are supposed to do, what we are supposed to ask, all is given in this. That is description of the dizziness on the 93rd slide. Go through this slide whenever you find some time. Then come to the 94th slide. What are the additional symptoms which are very important? Because if you know this symptom, you can straightaway diagnose where is the site of the lesion. So as per the topographical diagnosis, this symptomatology is also very, very important. That's why we are supposed to spend time for in history. Come to the 95th slide. This is very important. This is again can be asked in your exam. If the vertical loss for the seconds, usually is BPPV. If it's minutes to hours, then it's a menial disease. If lasts for the days, then vestibular neuritis, and if lasts for weeks, usually it's a psychogenic. Again mentioned in that 96 slide, same thing. So if vertigo is of single episode, then you are supposed to ask about the hearing. If hearing is spared, that can be due to neuritis or head injury, or if hearing is involved, then again can be head injury or labyrinth and fistula or some infection or vascular disorder. So that is of the single episode. But what is of the recurrent and recurrent episodes of vertigo? Then there are various differential diagnoses which I had mentioned in the next slide. That is 98th slide. Now come to the 99th slide. This will be covered in your Meniere's disease. What is the severity of vertigo in Meniere's disease? So it can be from 0 to 4. 0 is no vertigo and 4th is extreme vertigo. Again, this will be covered in your Meniere's disease class. Then what are the triggering symptoms which in episodic vertigo gets aggravated? So as far as BPPV goes, it's lying down or turning over in bed, which aggravates the vertigo in BPPV. Standing up, that is orthostatic hypertension. Then neck movement, any vestibular cause. Then pressure change, again fistula. Loud sound, Tullio phenomena. This will be a MCQ to you. Then due to alcohol or exercise, this is a episodic ataxia. So these are some of the aggravating or triggering factors. Come to the 101 slide. So should we stop or should we continue? Hello? Hello?
Sir, actually, next lecture starts from 11:15.
11:15 onwards. So should we stop?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So this is for the first time I am stopping my lecture in the middle itself. So it's not happened till now, but it doesn't matter. So we will continue this with if whenever time permits us. So all of you just take care. And during this pandemic, you are supposed to wear proper mask, follow the hand hygiene, and you must have gone through that.